Hello, my name is Homero Arellano.
My name is Diego Rivera.
And I'm Zach Gassner. For our project, we made an online multiplayer poker game, specifically Texas Hold'em, which is a very popular variant of poker today. We chose this project because we like playing poker, and we thought that this would be a fun and challenging final project to showcase what we've learned throughout this course and throughout the computer science major in general. Before we got started on this project, we need to do some research on a few things. The first thing, and probably the most important thing, was figuring out how to approach the multiplayer aspect of the game, which we ended up using WebSockets to handle. We'll go into more detail later on how WebSockets work. We also wanted to make a 3D game, so we needed to figure out how to use Three.js, which is an online graphics library within our React app to make the game appear 3D. We also did some research on Blender, which works hand in hand with Three.js to easily modify our 3D components such as poker table, cards, as well as other components.
So this is how our software architecture looks like. At the very top, we have our MySQL relational database. And what talks to our database is our backend API, which is composed of Node.js and Express. Talking to that same API, we have our front end that consists of React and Three.js. And what handles that multiplayer aspect of the game is Socket.io, which is what talks to our front end.
Yeah, and so all those components that Diego just mentioned are actually hosted. So our MySQL relational database is hosted on AWS, and our Express API, front end, and WebSocket server are hosted on a platform called render.com, which allows you to link your GitHub account and select from which repositories to host. And this is what helped us perform our multiplayer aspect. Going into more detail about WebSockets, since it's hosted, it made our multiplayer challenge a lot easier than what we thought it would be at the very beginning of commencing this project. And WebSockets turned out to be the backbone of our whole entire project. The way it works is when you access our game via the link, as you will see later on, you create a new instance of that UI. So for example, if Diego, Zach, and I were to log into our game, we would have created 3 instances of the UI from which all 3 of those are listening to the single WebSocket server, and that single WebSocket server is listening to all instances of the UI. The way WebSockets work for our application is kind of like a ping pong effect. Let's say a player performs an action within our game. We update the state of the game on their front end and emit a message that the WebSocket has picked up. But along with that message, we also pass whatever information we need to in order to update that state of the game on the other UIs. So that WebSocket will now send another message with that received data to either all the UIs or a select amount of UIs. This really helped us to avoid sending the wrong state of the game to the wrong game session.
And so we wanted to implement Three.js library with React because it allows us to render and animate 3D graphics through the web. This library is what renders our 3D world, our first-person controls, and map our textures/materials to the 3D models. With Three.js, we use Blender in our project because this software allows us to easily edit existing non-copyrighted 3D models, as well as export those same models in a compatible file that will work with Three.js.
Yeah, so now that you guys have a visualization as to how our components work, let's go ahead and demo those. Yeah, so upon entering this link into your web browser, you'll be greeted with our app. Kind of gives you a little homepage, all the components and how they work, an about section, which is a very brief summary of our presentation. You can either log in or create an account. If you create an account, you can only choose unique usernames, and if you put in the wrong password or something, you'll be given an insightful tip as to what went wrong.
And of course, these passwords are hashed and saved into the database, not just the password itself. At the top right, you can see that we have the money, and next to that, we have the shop icon. Going to that shop, we are greeted with 2 different sections, owned avatars and buyable avatars. Buyable avatars, of course, you could buy them. Each cost $10,000, and you could buy more when you get more chips.
And then back on the homepage, if you select create match and then go ahead and give it a unique name and then just hit create match, so I'll go ahead and start a game. Or back at the homepage, if you wanted to join an existing match, you just hit there, and if there was one running, you would just select from the list of matches and then hit join.
Yeah, going back to the homepage now, you can see we have a Friends tab. This Friends tab was built based on our API and our WebSockets. So we can go ahead and add friends. Let's say we search, we send a query via our API, which looks for all users with this specific character in their name. So for example, if I type in L, looks like there's a count for lol, hello, and lol1. You can go to your pending requests. Looks like I have a incoming request from Uzi. I can either accept or decline, which will send an API call as well, or you could view your outgoing request. Going back to the regular friends page, you can see a list of all friends that are retrieved via our API from our database. Not only that, we also incorporated WebSockets into our friends component by the following. As you can see, every one of these profile pictures has a little red circle on the top left. Green meaning they're online and red meaning they're offline. And as you can see, Zach just joined a game, just created a game, so we are able to join the game, which this information is also picked up from our UI, from our WebSocket. So let's go ahead and join the game. Cool, so let me go ahead and join Zach's game. As you guys heard, there is lobby music, but for the sake of the video, we'll go ahead and mute it, and I'll take a seat, and then I'll hand it over to Zach's POV.
All right, so now that we're in a game, you can see we have Diego over here and Homero over here. We do have first-person control, so if you click the screen, you're able to look around at everything. And then if you hit escape, then you're no longer in that mode. So let's go ahead and start the game. I'm the host. I'm the only one that sees this button and is able to start the game. So let's see.
So it looks like it is my turn. Looks like I'm the small blind. So I will call 50.
Cool, it looks like it's my turn. Don't really have a good hand, so I'm just gonna check here because I don't have a good hand.
All right, back to me. I have a pair of eights, pocket eights. It's a pretty good hand. So I'm going to go ahead and raise here.
Oh, and I also have an 8, but I have a jack with that. So I'm just going to call and stay in the game maybe.
Yeah, and I don't have anything either, but I still want to stay in the game, so I'm gonna go ahead and call.
Cool, perfect. So now it is back to my turn. I am just going to check.
And I'm gonna check. Also, as you guys saw, the flop did appear randomly. That is because that WebSocket handling that updating of the state of the game. It updated on one end of the UI, but it emitted that update to everyone else, so they all got that. So I'm gonna go ahead and check here because I have a 3 of a kind for the 7, but I'm gonna bet actually.
All right, well, now that we know Homero has a 3 of a kind, I'm probably just going to fold. Just kidding, we'll stick around for now. I still can make a pretty good hand. I'll go ahead and call.
Cool, and I'm also going to call. As you guys can see, the yellowing on the text on the bottom right and on top of our usernames is handled through the WebSocket. And it is back to my turn again. I'm just going to check.
I'm going to check here.
And since Homero earlier said he had a 7, I think I'm going to check because if he does, that's a 4 of a kind, which is a very good hand.
Cool, and so I am also going to check to stay in the game.
So it is the final round now, so I'm gonna go ahead and bet.
And for the video's sake, I'll go ahead and call this bet.
And I will call as well.
All right, and as you could see, Homero did in fact have a 7, giving him a 4 of a kind, which is an extremely strong poker hand. So he won. 4 of a kind is not a very common hand at all. Now that we're back at the home screen, you can see here I have $29,600. So I initially had $30,000. So you can see I did in fact lose my $400. Let's go into the shop here and buy an avatar. So these are all the ones that I currently own. I like SpongeBob and Patrick Star, so let's go ahead and buy that one. Go ahead and equip it. If we go back to the main menu, you can see here I do have that avatar equipped, and I did also get $10,000 subtracted from my money. And I think that's about everything. Thank you so much for listening to our video.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys.